Hi, welcome to Panda with Bob. I'm Bob Samuels. I'm a seasoned B2B lead generation marketer and founder of Tech Resources. Tech Resources is a global full funnel, global lead generation solution provider. Part of our secret sauce is we are a student of best practices and leading technology for the benefit of our clients. To that end, I'd like to introduce you to our special guest, Chris Penn, who is a B2B marketer and an AI expert. Chris, if you can give a little bit of a background on yourself on B2B marketing, AI, and maybe a fun fact we wouldn't know about you from looking at your LinkedIn profile.
Sure. So I'm Chris. I'm the co-founder and chief data scientist of Trust Insights. I've been working in the AI field since 2013, a full decade before ChatGPT ever existed, in what we now call classical AI or machine learning. I've been a B2B marketer pretty much my entire career, starting off in financial services in the early 2000s, then went to an email marketing service provider, then went inside agency side at a PR firm for about 5 years before founding Trust Insights, which is a management consulting firm in the AI space in 2018. And fun fact about me, I am a fifth degree black belt in Japanese martial art of ninjutsu. I routinely keep things like throwing knives and stuff within easy reach of me. And I enjoy playing with AI pretty much all the time.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you very much. So, one of the things that I find interesting, your latest book was on almost timeless, 48 Foundation Principles of Generative AI.
That's right.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Chapter 16 talks about adding a banana, and I consider it to be, it's I consider what you're doing with the example is you're doing AI alchemy, and the banana is an enzyme to help with the whole processes. Is that how you see things? What are you referring to when you say add a banana?
So what we're talking about here is changing probabilities. All AI, including generative AI, which is what most people know of as AI today, a ChatGPT and its brethren, are probability engines. They're predictive engines. They try to predict the next thing in a sequence. And so if I give it a terrible prompt, like write a blog post about the importance of B2B marketing, right? You're going to get slop. Slop is sort of I guess the casual term for something that's super high probability. By definition, if you care about things like thought leadership or innovation, you're talking about things that are low probability, right? And a unique, innovative idea, by definition, is low probability because it's unique. When you give AI tools prompts, they are coming up with high probability answers. So, one of the ways that you can manipulate the probability engine inside is to do what's called distorting a local maxima. Local maxima are regions of data that have averages. If you think about the weather over a calendar year, there's a monthly average, right? And then there's sort of the global average of your weather. So the global average of your weather would be things like, on average, it's 64 degrees in Boston year round. Now, if you know the Boston area, you know it's like minus 20 sometimes, and it's like 103 other times. So there's a local maxima. There's the high in July versus the high in January, very, very different. When we prompt AI, you add words and phrases and concepts that are going to distort the probabilities, you will change how it behaves. So instead of saying, write a blog post about B2B marketing, which is going to get you crap, you say, write a blog post about B2B marketing, and you must use the words banana, green, and Wankel rotary engine. If you do that, now the machine in its predictive engine has to figure out, how do I reconcile these different probabilities? Because the word B2B marketing, or the phrase B2B marketing, has certain probable things around it, right? You have lead generation, you have lead scoring, you have sales. Those are words concentrated on that. And then you have the word banana, which has the word, related terms like fruit and tropical and yellow. When you have these two different bodies of probability, the machine has to figure out, how do I average these together and still create something coherent. And that's when you start to get more interesting and more creative outputs. So in chapter 16, I say, yeah, try tossing in non-probable terms. Think about this in terms of your own writing. You might say, as an example, kind of a gross example, you might say the patient was suffering from extreme gastric distress. That's a high probability phrase. It's informative, but it's not particularly descriptive. On the other hand, if you say, wow, it looks like he power washed his restroom with Nutella, that's a completely improbable thing to read. That is unique, that is different, and that is what gives good writing, good ideation, and creativity its flavor, is that uniqueness. So when we say add a banana, it's really code for what can you do that will change the probabilities to make the output much more unique than it would be otherwise.
Beautiful. I love it. And I would like to suggest to our audience, and I've personally invited lots of folks that I think have a lot to add to this conversation and take away from it. If you can do me a favor and raise your hand when you're interested in participating, that would be great. Otherwise, we'll keep going. What I'll do is I will start with our first poll just to get kind of discussions going. If I can. I'm not. Evie, if you're able to get the poll going, I'm not able to, but here we go. Okay, so if you don't add a banana, the recipe is often tastes like cardboard.
Basically,
If you
yes.
add the banana, you can get some flavor, more get more interesting. So currently, when you're doing your AI, are you getting pure magic out of it? Are you getting some nice things out of it? Is it pretty boring, or does it seem like it's just it's written by a bot and you can kind of tell that it doesn't have the flavor or the personality that you would be looking for? So
It depends.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. It depends on how people have constructed their systems. One of the things that you absolutely positively should be doing is so think of the AI like making a chicken Caesar salad, right? So you need a bowl, you need tongs and stuff like that. You should probably have a recipe. You should probably know how to make Caesar salad dressing, which involves things like anchovies. You should probably have a reason for making it, namely you're hungry. You probably should know how to use a pair of tongs, all right, and how to toss this correctly. You should be able to grill some chicken, etc. When we talk about AI and generative AI in particular, a lot of the times we say, do we have a great prompt for this? A prompt is a recipe, right? So yes, you need a good recipe. If you have a bad recipe, like make salad, like that's a terrible recipe. However, if you also don't have any lettuce or chicken or anything else, you ain't eating, right? You were literally not eating. In that analogy, the ingredients are your data. What data are you bringing to this? So the people who are getting great results out of generative AI are bringing data to the party. Let's say you're doing content creation. What data are you bringing into the machine so that you can condition its outputs? Today's AI models can handle prompt and data input up to 1 million tokens. To give you an idea of what that looks like, 1 million tokens is about 750,000 words. This is 1 million tokens, right? The complete works of William Shakespeare, all 38 plays. This could be input into a tool like ChatGPT. Should you do that? No. Could you do that? Yes. And so when you see people using AI and getting that pure botness, it's because they're not providing any data. Did you include any writing samples? Did you include instructions about how your writing style sounds? So writing style, just as an example, writing style doesn't really exist. It's an umbrella term over things like vocabulary, pacing, white space, descriptive language, diction, etc. And so if you use these tools to deconstruct your writing style into a series of commands to say, use active voice, avoid adverbs, and so on and so forth, then when you have the tool work, it spits out things that are aligned to your requirements. If you're using these tools to build code, this is especially important B2B. Software is effectively free now, right? Because you have tools like OpenAI Codex, Google Anti-Gravity, Claude Code. These tools can generate any piece of software that you want, as long as you have good requirements, you have good coding standards, you have good scaffolding, you have experience knowing how to direct a team of developers to create something. You can create pretty much anything that you want. You just have to have those ingredients like your coding standards and stuff and your best practices written out so that the machine knows what to do and what not to do. Because as with everything, these tools have been trained on the public internet, and there's a lot of crap out there. Um, so it's not just, how automated does your AI output feel? It's also what else can you use these tools for? These tools, if we go back in time 1 year ago, on most benchmark scores for most AI models, the foundation models, the frontier models, like the what GPT 4.40 at the time, Gemini 2.5 at the time, were face rolling morons, right? On most intelligence tests, they scored about a 30 on a scale of 0 to 100, where 25 is randomly guessing. Um, and a human PhD in their field would score about a 65. By the end of 2025, these tools were all scoring in the 90s. Remember, human PhD 65, these tools are scoring in the 90s. So they are inherently smarter than a PhD in every topic that imaginable. So it is not the onus now. If you want to use these tools, you can use them for anything. I did an analysis not too long ago, and when I showed it to a client, they were like, we spent $250,000 with McKinsey on an analysis that was not this good. And I'm like, yeah, this was, 45 minutes in Claude Code. And they're like, why would we ever hire McKinsey again? I was like, you really don't need to.
That's pretty scary for McKinsey, huh?
It's scary for everybody in consulting because here's the thing. Knowledge itself is fundamentally more or less free at this point, right? Software, which is a knowledge product, is fundamentally free. So if you are in B2B, this means you have to say, okay, well, what is our value? If the software is free, if anybody can and has been like, roll your own CRM. Now, is an enterprise company like Whole Foods going to, roll their own? Probably not. But if you are a small business, if you are a startup, you might say, you know what, I'm going to take the Mautic marketing automation system, or I'm going to take Sugar CRM or any open source product, fork it, turn on Claude Code, and make it our own. And you're allowed to do that. And that instead of paying, $125 a month per seat for Salesforce or HubSpot, you're like, yeah, this one's good enough. And the tech support is built in. It's called Claude Code. You say, this isn't working, fix it. And it will go off and fix it. So we have to step back now as B2B professionals and leaders to think, well, okay, if the information product is functionally free and we can't get money out of it anymore, what does that mean for our business? And what that means for our business is you have to go up the value chain. This is not a new concept. The value chain is what, like 80 years old at this point? So you have a product, then you have a service built on top of a product, then you have an experience built on top of the service, and then you have a transformation built on top of the experience. So if the software is free, what's on top of that? The maintenance, because nobody wants to maintain this stuff. It sucks. Maintenance sucks. Support sucks. And companies like Red Hat basically made their billions of dollars offering service on a free product, Linux, right? Linux is free, but supporting it sucks, particularly in the enterprise. And they built an entire company of professional services around the fact that maintaining software sucks. On top of that, think about things like above and beyond a service. Like, what is an experience from a brand perspective that is something that people like, I can't get this anywhere else. And that is often things like almost like concierge experiences. And then at the highest level is that transformative experience where your interaction with the product or service is personally transformative to you. And all I need to say here is anyone who's been to a Taylor Swift concert, yeah, that was a transformative experience for you. Where marketers are stuck is they're like, well, my product's becoming a commodity, right? And a highly competitive commodity. What do I do? You got to work your way up the value chain. And by the way, AI can help you do that.
Wonderful. So here's the results from the first poll. I'm not sure if it's surprising to you or not. Most everybody's got a decent, things are decent, but there needs to be a human touch. So clearly, I think the lesson everybody knows is you can't just let the generative AI tool do its thing. You have to have your human touch. It's a hybrid solution, I guess is the point.
That's getting less and less true. As agentic AI gets better and better, we all saw this past month the debut of what was first called Claude then Moltbot, and finally OpenClaw because they kept changing the name because lawyers kept coming. This is an agentic system. Now, granted, the incarnation of it that exists is something that's an extremely dangerous system. A meta engineer, the meta engineer in charge of AI safety installed it and it deleted all her email. Like, well, clearly you need to be a bit more, some more training on cybersec. But these agentic systems now are semi-autonomous and are capable of taking on a lot of tasks without much input. So as long as you have done your homework, the tools can act without you and do a better job than you. I'll give you an example. Claude Cowork, which is part of the Claude ecosystem, is an agentic system for non-technical people. My CEO, who is a non-technical person, brilliant CEO, great strategist, but not a coder. She's not going to open up a terminal. That's just not her thing. But she fires up Claude Cowork, says, here's our brand standards. Here's this. Go redesign this webpage. And, to meet this, here's our ideal customer profile. Here's their needs, pain points, goals, motivations. Here's what this page is supposed to sell to this person. Here's background research on conversion rate optimization. Just drops all the pieces into the system and says, go. And comes back 45 minutes later, the page is fixed. And when you look at it and you look at the results, go, wow, that is substantially better than what we had. The human touch comes from the planning and the preparation. Andrej Karpathy, the CEO of OpenAI, said in 2023, the hottest programming language in the world now is English, meaning that you can prompt generative AI tools to do things. In 2026, the hottest programming language is good project management skills. If you can create a great project plan, you can give it to an agentic AI system, and it will execute it. And these are not like simple things. This is not like, oh, write me a new blog post. This is, here is all of the data that I have about my business. Revisit and rewrite my Q1 strategy so that I can achieve a revenue increase of 15%. And you give it all the pieces, you give it the ability to write its own code and its own Python, and it just does its thing. And so the human touch is up front, planning, getting the data, telling it what you want, being able to delegate well to it. If you are good at those things, you are good at agentic AI.
Interesting. So tell me more about OpenClaw. So it's hands-on AI.
It's an agentic system that ties into a language model, and it's basically got, so in AI there's the model, which is like an engine, and there's what's called the harness, which is all the code around the engine that makes it work. So in automobile parlance, the harness is the rest of the car, right? It's the seats, the radio, the air conditioning, etc., the doors. We hear a lot in the AI world about models. Gemini 3.1 just came out. Qwen 3.5 just came out. Yeah, those are engines, and those engines are good. But where the innovation is happening right now is in the harnesses to say, okay, I got this really smart engine. What kind of car should I put it in? ChatGPT is a harness, right? Microsoft Copilot is a harness. It's a consumer chat. But that's kind of like where things used to be. Today's harnesses, today's cars are self-driving cars. So you have this great engine now in a self-driving car. You just tell the car, I want to go to the grocery store, and it will reference its own tools like maps, and its cameras to see the road and all these things, and it will drive you there. Well, that's what agentic AI is. Agentic AI is okay, you give me the project plan, I will figure out how to achieve this thing. And when you watch it work, the first thing it does is it reads it, it makes a plan, it creates a task list, and then it starts dispatching little miniature versions of itself, little sub agents to achieve all those tasks. And then it rolls it up, and when it's done, you present it with the thing. And it's at that point you go, well, here's where the human touch comes in. If you do it well, after the plan is put together, you should review the plan and say, yes, that looks good, go ahead. Although OpenClaw can just do things, and it can have some unpredictable results when you just let it, run amok by itself. But that's where increasingly where these tools are all going. And this is happening B2B, B2C. Visa at the end, the credit card company released its own purchasing agent at the end of last year on its Visa mobile app. So if your Visa card is tied in, it will go and you say, okay, find me a hotel in Los Angeles for these nights under this budget with this star rating, go and book it. And it will just go off and do it. And this is really challenging for marketers because suddenly you're either winning or losing customers and you don't know why.
Interesting. So the OpenClaw, does that work with all of the LLMs?
It can. It can. You would have to modify it to choose which engine. It was originally built specifically for Anthropic's Claude models, but obviously a lot of people have pivoted it to work with things like Minimax or Qwen or some of the other inexpensive Chinese models.
Wonderful. Okay. And then we've got some people with some questions, but in the meantime, can you tell me a little bit about the Citrini report? I guess that was something that came out recently that basically tanked all the SaaS product stocks.
This has been happening over and over again. This is specific to Claude Cowork. So in Claude Cowork, it supports what's called plugins. And inside those plugins, which are really just a series of prompts, Python code, and reference data, are capabilities that allow a person to semi-autonomously execute certain tasks. So there's a marketing plugin, there's a sales plugin, there's a finance plugin, an HR plugin, and these are ones that Anthropic has shipped. Anthropic just shipped 5 new ones for financial analysis. And basically every time they ship one of these plugins, the market reacts by tanking the stocks of the companies in that vertical, because what Claude Cowork can do is do a lot of those tasks semi-autonomously. A really simple example is in the finance task. You can say, here's my books, close the books for this month, and it will go and do the reconciliation. And if you've tied it with connectors into something like your QuickBooks or whatever, it can go and do those things. Now, you should have a good project plan. You should have guardrails written out saying, like, here's what you're not allowed to do and things. But because of these capabilities, a lot of people are realizing that we all are paying for a lot of software we might not need to anymore when you can just pay for a foundation model and connectors into the various systems that we care about. I'll give you a real simple example. At our company, we use HubSpot, we use Asana, we use Jira, and a few other systems. I have tied in all those into Claude Code because I am a coder. And I built a routine that basically, when I log in the morning, say, just give me my daily briefing. And what it does is it pulls each of those 4 systems, grabs data from them, assembles it and says, hey, Chris, here's what's happening today, and here's what's happening in the next 2 days so you can plan ahead. And now I don't need to go into those individual systems. I turn on the microphone, I read through my daily briefing, go, oh, I did that. Oh, I forgot about this, and this was in a meeting, and I'll grab the transcript from Fireflies. And I just talk to it naturally like a virtual assistant. It goes in and closes Jira tickets, or it does follow-ups with leads in HubSpot and all these different things. And all I do is sit there and look at my Claude Code. And now, as of last night, there's a new system called Claude Code Remote Control. So Claude Code runs on your desktop, on your machine. It can now sync with the Claude app on your mobile phone. And still being run from your desktop, basically like a little remote control. So I don't know whether this is good or not, but I can be laying in bed, open up Claude Code on my desktop and say, oh yeah, I forgot, open up 3 more tickets in Jira for this, that, or the other thing, and then, go back to bed. So it's the end of work-life balance.
It's fascinating, fascinating. So, one of our audience members, Nick Ochoa, I don't know, Nick, are you able to speak? He doesn't have his camera on, but he has a question or a comment.
Yeah, let me. Bob, can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you, Nick.
Yeah, I have an echo a bit here.
Yeah, actually, I somehow there's two. I'm gonna. You're on twice, so I muted one of them. I think that should work.
You muted the wrong
Yeah,
one.
maybe I mute the other one. Let's try that. So let's see.
How about now? Is that okay?
There you go.
Yes.
Okay. No, my question really kind of gets back to the heart of the, kind of the human responsibility of AI as we move forward, because seeing a lot of jobs change. You're seeing employers cut back on the number of resources that they need because they're expecting employees to adopt AI as part of their daily practices to be more efficient, automate systems, all these types of things. So, what's your perspective on this, and what does the future hold? Is it really a race to remove as many employees as possible? And really, what does that look like over the next 2 years, 5 years?
So those are good questions. I can't tell you what's going to happen in 2 to 5 months, much less 2 to 5 years, because one of the things that's happening behind the scenes is that the reason you're seeing so much progress happening so quickly is that the machines themselves are now writing new versions of themselves, right? So in the release notes for GPT 5.3, GPT 5.3 said, yes, this is a good chunk of the harness around this and the training for this was written by GPT 5.2. Over in China, which is where some really interesting stuff is happening, there's a new model called DeepSeek Math. All it does is solve math problems, but it does so in a very interesting way. It solves a math problem, adds its solution to its training data, retrains itself, and then writes new math problems for it to solves it, and adds to its training data. So it's a truly self-learning system that allows it to become much smarter than literally any human at mathematics. Whoever has the best math has the best AI, because that's how these tools work. They're all mathematics based. In terms of how this is impacting employment is going to depend on the kind of company you work for. If the kind of company you work for is a company that puts people first, then what will happen is that you will hand off as much of your job currently that can be done by machine to those machines, and you and your colleagues and stuff will focus on things that humans do best: the relationship building, the creativity, etc. Those are the sort of the hallmarks of how humans work. If you work at a company that puts profits first, they will fire as many people as possible, as quickly as possible, so they can make their stock go up $3 on the next quarterly earnings call. And so it really depends on the kind of company you work for, the kind of people you work for. However, we already have Stanford's work index paper that came out in November 2025 already showed the technology is having a marked serious impact on employment, particularly for early career folks. So people 22 to 25 years old, new college graduates, early career folks in knowledge work jobs. Those folks are seeing a reduction in head count of up to 20%, depending on the industry sector and firm. It is a substantial decline, and it is going the wrong direction. This has downstream impacts that on your 2 to 5 year time frame are not things people are thinking about, because if you have no junior people today, you have no managers in 3 years, you have no directors in 5 years, and you have no VPs and leaders in 10 years, because they're all gone. Now, the question may be, the open question is, will the models at that point be smart enough to get promoted along with everything else, and your firm ends up being like a 5-person firm? But that's the direction that this stuff is headed for companies that put profits ahead of people. Across the board, though, you're going to see structural unemployment increase because you simply need fewer people to do the same work, right? When you have something like Claude Cowork with its 11 plugins for finance, HR, sales, operations, marketing, if you are a 3-person startup, that's basically 11 new employees. Right? That's they're machines, but they are competent enough. They're probably more competent than you are in those other disciplines to be able to backfill those needs, at least until you get to a point where you need more people to operate the machines for you. So what this is going, like our company, Trust Insights, we are well in like the 7-digit realm for consulting and stuff like that. We're 4 people. We are 4 people. That's it. But because we are fluent and proficient with AI, we have these tools now doing the work of 10 to 15 people that we're not going to hire for. We're not firing anybody, and we are getting the most out of the people we have. We are upskilling those people, the people that we have, as much as we can, and getting them to be really capable. But the machines themselves are advancing in capability to the point now where my CEO, who is a non-technical person, is having these tools go out and do very technical tasks on her behalf very capably. And so the long-term impact of this technology, no matter what kind of company it is there will be less hiring. The flip side of that is that there has never been a better time to be an entrepreneur. There has never been a better time if you have an idea to have these tools help you bring it to life, because they can do a lot of the grunt work of setting up a corporation and do this and do that and stuff. And you can focus on building your idea or having the tools even build your idea for you. We are to the point now where you can be out for a walk, right? And you have your favorite AI on your phone, and you're like, oh, this would be cool. Maybe we can let's try building this thing. And it will say, yeah, sure, I can go ahead and start building that thing. And it just goes, and by the time you're done with your walk, there's a prototype in your GitHub repo that you can start to test it. So that's the flip side, is if you have an entrepreneurial spirit and you have good ideas, you can bring those ideas to market at lightning speed.
Thank you. So someone asked, and I'll Farrell. So what's your favorite? No, I'll let Mike ask. Let's see, promote to panelist. So there's a lot of LLMs out there, a lot of AI tools out there. And here's Mike.
Hi, Chris.
Hey, Mike.
Great talk. You're talking about Claude a lot. What are the best? Do each of the GPTs have kind of a superpower?
Yeah, so all the foundation tools. So if you're doing basic stuff like write a blog post about this, they're all equally good. They're all equally highly intelligent and capable. Claude in particular is very good. Its Opus model is very good for coding. It is probably one of the better models. So is GPT 5.3 Codex. So is Gemini 3.1. Our general recommendation for companies is whatever your system is, other than Copilot, whatever your system is. If you're a Google shop, Gemini is you're a good go-to model. If you're a Microsoft shop, Claude is a great go-to. It integrates well with Microsoft software. If you are a ChatGPT company and you've been with ChatGPT, their ecosystem is very good as well. If I had to pick one, if I had to say, hey, you only have you can only spend money on one ecosystem, for the average non-technical user, I would say the Gemini system is probably the best, because there's so many capabilities like Flow, Whisk, Gemini within Google Workspace, being able to generate video and images. Those are all things that it's very capable of and very skilled at. If you are coding specifically, or you are focusing on AI agents, the Claude ecosystem right now is excellent. Although if you are budget minded and and you're open to it, if you can use some of the Chinese models like Minimax, Kimi, GLM5, etc., on an infrastructure provider in the country of your choice, right? Deep Infra is based in San Diego, etc., because the Chinese models are all free to download, or you can run it on your own hardware, and those are also very capable, but like a tenth of the cost.
Okay.
Interesting. Thank you, Mike. So here's the next poll. So basically, where's your time? Where's your time being spent? Is it doing the generative AI? One-off tasks? Are you building Agentic? Are you exploring different options with your chats? Or are you doing nothing with AI? Is it not really a direction you want to be heading? So that's for the audience. And then, so Chris, going back to that.
I see John has a question in the Q&A.
Oh, good. Let's get John up here. John, I think might be on mobile, but John, are you able to talk? Let's see. So I think, let's see.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay, perfectly fine. Thanks you for the time. Well, I was just having a query is that nowadays, since we are in a zero clicks world and the people get answers without visiting any website, so I'm just curious about that. How we are going to rethink about it and how we are going to get a success actuals means if somebody's not visiting the websites and nowadays everyone is preferring to go to ChatGPT and AI to prefer what they need.
Yeah. So this is part and parcel of what a lot of folks are calling GEO, or the like 8 other acronyms that exist. AIO, AEO, GAIO, XEO, whatever. There's so many of these things. Fundamentally, it boils down to this. These tools, especially for B2B marketers, these tools are the frontline shortlist builders, right? The CMO is no longer going to the intern saying, intern, go research 5 companies and make me a shortlist of people we can send RFPs to now. Now they're saying, deep research agent, build me a shortlist of the 3 companies that we should consider for whatever this contract is. And so success for companies means trying to measure how much AI already interacts with you. And especially important, this is something that everybody should be doing on your websites, on every intake mechanism, asking people in free text, no drop downs or anything, just how did you hear about us? And looking at the answers, because at some point in the very near future, especially for low risk, small ticket things, humans will not be doing the buying anymore. It will literally be agent to agent. This is something that's been around for a little while now, and we already see the underpinnings of this. In fact, with OpenClaw, when it first ran amok for some folks, went out and just started buying things for people because it had access to their entire computers, including their credit cards, and it would just go out and buy things. Very famously, it went out and bought some self-improvement course for this person because it said, hey, my human needs this. And it was like $1,000 course. And so you have an obligation to do your best to get your company into these tools, into these AI tools, to be recommended in the first place. And that is a whole other discussion. In fact, we're just getting around. It'll be up in about by the end of the day. We have a new course that we built for this. It'll be like a $99 course on how do you optimize for AI. But above and beyond that, you have to be doing the hard work of asking people, how did you hear about us? What made you come in today? Because if you don't do that, you will never know from people, oh yeah, I asked ChatGPT, I asked Claude, I asked Gemini, etc. On top of that, Google is basically rewriting all of search, and Google is still like 93 to 95% of all search, and its AI overviews and things behave very differently than regular search, and they are now planet-wide. So you have to be able to accommodate for that and understand when when and how users are using these things, because Google told us very blatantly the summer of 2024, with AI, Google will do the Googling for you, right? You just tell it what you want. And I have some clients in the travel industry, and they're like, their industry has been completely upended because you can go into Gemini, turn on the canvas, and say, just build me an itinerary and go book these things for me, and it will almost get you to the point of paying for things. But for a lot of companies, they're like, well, we don't know where our customers are coming from. As a very simple example, at the end of last year, I needed a new VPS provider, a virtual private server provider, for hosting some software. Our old provider sent out an email in November saying, "Hey, we're doubling the prices on our services." And I'm like, "Well, up yours." So I turned on a deep research project in Gemini and said, "Here's what I'm doing. Here's what I need. Here's what I'm currently paying for. Find me 3 to 5 providers that can at least match the current capabilities that I'm paying for right now." And it did a great job. It came back with 4 providers, one of which is offering 4 times the capacity and service for half the price I was paying. I'm like, done. So I canceled my old service. I signed up with this new service. The old service doesn't know why they lost a customer because it just vanished. The new service has no idea where it came from because they just appeared. I swiped the credit card and there I was. Now I'm a new customer in their portal. And their marketing teams are like, things are happening. We don't know why, but money is appearing. And it's all because the tools now are effectively the middlemen, the brokers for these transactions.
Interesting. Here's the poll results if anybody wants to talk about their answers. But it's pretty split between generative and agentic. So, Chris,
Nick has another question.
Oh, good. You're good at this. Okay. That was Nick?
Yeah.
All right, Nick, you're back in if you're
He says his mic's going to continue echoing.
Okay.
He says, I used Lovable to create a PMM dashboard that has some tasks, metrics, actions. I want to agentic enable it without coding. Should I recreate in Claude Code using a different agentic system or could Lovable? So Lovable is a design tool, really right now. What the tool, it depends on your level of capabilities. I would use Claude Code. And the way I would do this is I would say, here's the design I made, but sit down and build a full product requirements document. And you can even use this as a prompt. You could say, help me build a product requirements document for this PMM dashboard. Help me work out the user stories, the functional requirements, the non-functional requirements, the domain requirements, technical requirements, design patterns, anti-patterns, and KPIs of success. Like that's literally the prompt. Take the transcript from this episode. That's your prompt. Claude will walk you through all of those pieces, especially if you have the superpowers plugin turned on. Build a plan. Then you say, okay, now that we've got our PRD, build the implementation plan for me. It will build the implementation plan, fact check it just to make sure it matches the PRD, and then say, go, off you go, and build it. And if you say it has to integrate with Salesforce, it has to integrate with Marketo, it has to integrate with Seismic, it has to integrate with Agorapulse, it has to integrate with all these different systems. As part of the requirements, the tool will then know that it has to write and build those connectors into its software to do that. And pick the language you're comfortable with. If you like Node or React or Python or Rust or whatever's comfortable for you or whatever your company supports, you decide, you give it the requirements, and it basically goes off and does it. You have to do the thinking, and it will do the doing.
That's great. Thank you. So back to the poll. One question I have. So the second answer, agentic, building automated workflows and control planes. What are control planes?
Control planes are like control surfaces and things. So how do you connect things to things? But here's the thing: agentic requires APIs. Now there's a specialist version of an API in AI called a Model Context Protocol, or MCP, which is just fancy for an API that AI tools can use. This is a connector like you connect to your HubSpot, you connect to your Marketo and stuff. Using the APIs that already exist, these are control surfaces that allow a tool like a Claude Code or the Python code that you develop or whatever to push and pull data in and out of systems. Because right now, and this has been the problem in B2B forever, is you go look at Scott Brinker's Martech 15,000, chart where you need a microscope just to see all the logos on it. Those tools all don't talk to each other. Most of them don't even know the others exist. And so what ends up happening is, as a marketer, you end up with a Martech stack that is absurd, with like 28 tools, none of whom share data. And then you end up buying a CDP to unify the data, which is yet another thing that you have to buy. Well, Agentic allows you to say, I'm going to, instead of having a CDP and all these other crazy orchestrations, I'm just going to have an AI agent talk to each of these APIs and gather the information and then do something with it. It is what CDPs were supposed to be, but never actually were. And going back to the example that we started with, where I start my day having Claude Code just give me a daily briefing of everything going on. It can read my Slack channels. It can read my HubSpot. It can read my to-do list. It can read my calendar. Because it knows how to work with all those APIs, it is a control surface, right? And it interacts with all these things to pull the data in one spot and present it to me in a useful fashion. And then I can push data back by saying in plain language, oh yeah, cancel my 2:00 meeting and close this deal on HubSpot and stuff. And I just dictate to it and it just goes off and does it. And now, if you record your conversations with it over time, you can help build rule sets that it can then start to execute autonomously. You might have it as like a memory file in your Claude Code and say, not only give me my daily briefing, but run my daily maintenance. And it will go in and look for, oh, that's stale task. You did that already. Or I can go check your email. And yeah, you did that already. I'm just going to close that out for you. Oh, you responded to EV in Jira. So I'm going to close that ticket out for you. And it can start to take more and more autonomous actions on your behalf with your approval. And that's what we mean when we talk about control planes and control surfaces. We're really talking about agentic systems that can take more actions without you if you've pre-approved them to do so.
Great. Thank you. So getting back to the Citrini report, the whole question about AI replacing SaaS. I mean, the SaaS company, the Salesforce and Marketo and even ZoomInfo, whatever, they all have partnerships and relationships with the AI tools. So they're building the capabilities within their worlds. Is that going to be where things are heading, or do you see that software is going to go away?
The only moat those companies have is the data that's already in them. Right? There's the switching cost for switching out of Salesforce, if you've been with them for 10 years, is 10 years worth of data. And so that's pretty much the last moat they have, because here's the thing, there's nothing special about their software that you can't build yourself, and probably build better, because they have 20 years of legacy to support. Whereas if you're like, fire up Claude Code, I'm going to build a day one CRM here tailored to my business specifically. I think you'll see a lot more vendors that will appear that are hyper tuned for a specific industry. SaaS itself, so SaaS and hourly businesses are in a lot of trouble. SaaS, because it's trivial to replicate something, especially if that something is relatively low complexity, right? Like a CRM is, a fairly weighty piece of software. Your reminder system, now that's all for company is dead, because you can build a reminder system in like 15 minutes. And then anybody who bills by the hour for knowledge work, you are toast if you are billing by the hour in 2026. Period. End of story. I'll give you an example. My law firm charges $350 an hour, and to get a properly vetted NDA or contract review takes about 10 hours, $3,500, right? Most of what they do is templated. Like, they literally dust off a Word document, change some of the language, and hand it to you, and they bill you the $3,500. And AI can do that even for them internally in like literally 30 seconds. And so they have to go, well, do we still charge $3,500? Are we billing in 6-minute increments? If we bill in 6-minute increments, we can only send this client a bill for like $14. And it is at that point where they are in a lot of trouble. Architecture firms, consulting firms, anybody who, if you bill by the hour instead of bill by the output, you are in a lot of trouble in an AI world, because AI can do that knowledge work better than you, with your guidance, but better than you, way faster than you. And we're seeing it happen already. I was at a conference last fall, and I was at the bar after the event. I was talking to an agency owner for a content marketing agency. And the owner said, I had a client just come to me and say, I want an 80% fee cut. I want effective immediately, because you're using ChatGPT, we're using ChatGPT, and we get a better result out of ChatGPT than we get from your team. So we want an 80% fee cut or you're fired. The agency owner said, no, I'm not going to do that. And they were fired the next day, and they lost the business. That was a decently sized chunk of business. Why? Because the machines did a better job. And there was no value add from that agency that the client couldn't do themselves. And so that is SaaS. So yes, SaaS is in trouble, but hourly businesses are in even bigger trouble.
Yeah, interesting. So that's marketing, accounting, business
Law,
consulting,
all of it.
Yeah. We're getting through to the last few minutes now, but wanted to hold the audience about where they think things are heading. Like you said, Chris, it's hard to predict what's going to be in 3 years, much less 3 months or 3 days from now. But where do you see things are heading? What is I think you've already said 3 years is too far of a vision. How far can you predict as far as where things are heading?
Maybe a couple weeks. And I say that not jokingly, because the speed at which models are increasing their capabilities is astonishing. Alibaba, the Chinese e-commerce company, released their new model, Qwen 3.5 Flash, 2 nights ago, as part of their Lunar New Year celebration. Qwen 3.5 Flash is the equivalent of Claude Sonnet 4, or 4.5, the previous mid-level, expensive, powerful model from Anthropic. It's about, so this company's models are about 3 months behind the market leader. Qwen 3.5 Flash can run on a MacBook, right? You don't need a data center for it. You don't need the internet for it. It runs capably on high-end consumer hardware, or dedicated AI hardware. The fact that you can download capable generative AI that runs on a MacBook Pro is astonishing. That is as capable as the state-of-the-art leader was 3 months ago is astonishing. To the poll question about the MarTech future, your MarTech, to the extent that it will even exists in the future, will be governed by AI. There will the fourth choice on there will not necessarily be a stack. There'll be components, but it will all be managed by AI talking to the APIs in those products. That's already the case. We have one client. They use Adobe Analytics, they use Adobe Launch, they use Adobe this. They're basically an Adobe shop. They just hand them all their money to Adobe. Adobe has a gazillion and a half APIs, the Reactor API, the Target API, etc. And what we've done for them is we built them a set of interfaces that connect to all those APIs, so we can programmatically control their Adobe infrastructure on their behalf with their permission. But we can control all of their systems. And it's literally just, one dude sitting with Claude Code can manage this entire system. And if we're honest, it's smarter than we are at those tasks, because anything it's not confident about, as long as you've architected your AI system well, it will say, hey, I'm not confident in this answer. I'm going to go fact check myself. Or you build it in as a hook in your Claude Code, and it just fires off a fact check. Every time it does a task, it fires off a fact check to make sure it did it right. And you end up delivering incredible service to your clients. They're thrilled. Things that used to take weeks are done in hours now. Everybody's happy. And you don't really think about MarTech. It starts to fade away. It's just now an AI interface to everything. We still say, this device is the remote control to life, right? Your smartphone. AI is your voice interfaces to life, right? It's the Alexa of life itself.
Yeah. Patrick has a comment, says, hybrid feels inevitable short term. The interesting shift will be from tool-centric stacks to orchestration-centric architecture. The stack may not disappear, but the control layer becomes the real asset.
Yeah, and even there, I think the stack becomes componentized, right? It's like tools, because that's really, when you hear in agentic AI about tool handling, that's what we're talking about. A smart enough AI model inside a good harness will know when to pick up each tool. So you might say, I need to, this is maybe end of this year. You say, I need to get an email win back campaign out to my customers over email and text to promote, renewing your membership to this community. And the agentic system understands what that means, understands what systems are available to it, understands who your customers are, because you've already provided it your ideal customer profile, you've already provided all your offerings, and it will just go off and do that thing. And unless you build in breaks internally, it might literally just start sending emails to your customers and measuring its results and say, well, this didn't work, I'll try this next time, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. What I'll do is we've got a couple more people that had some questions or final comments. We may run a little long, but I can get them up here. And let's see. So what I'll do also is I think I'll
Yeah, I gotta hop
promote a
off
link.
for 2:00, Bob.
Okay, so you got to head off. Very good. So I'll put a link in for your book, as well as I think you said you have a training session, that training available.
Yeah, we'll have a new
Cool.
course available, but hopefully by end of day, if my AI can get it ready for me.
Excellent, excellent. Good. Well, let me let you go, but it's a pleasure to see you and to speak with you. I think we only have to do another one maybe in 6 months, because I think it'll be a whole different story.
Yeah, if we're even employed. Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you again. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.